Well, hello, hello, hello. Here we are. Let's get this show going here. Hello, I'm Robin. This is Expert On. This is what we do. We talk about things. We talk about this. We talk about that. And today we're going to be talking about, is it worth buying the Alto TS series speakers? So we're talking about the full line. I do have the 410 here with me. I do also have a 408. I've had the 412s and 415s when I was still using them as a dealer, so I was buying them and selling them. So I've gone through all of those, so they're all gone. Subwoofers too. I actually have an 18 still in storage, not here because I just don't have room for it right now. But what we're going to do today is I've got a huge list. I've got a list of 13 other speakers that are 10-inch, because a couple of videos ago, I said, ooh, trying to, you know, completely brain drain myself and didn't remember any other 10-inch speakers, which there's of course a ton of. So we're going to go through all of them today and we're going to compare them against this. Now you're going to notice one thing off the hop. Most of them are better, but most of them cost 3 times the price. So regardless of size, price is going to differ when it comes to how big of an actual show you can do with those particular speakers. The difference is quality of sound for anything that's close. That's really what we're going to take a look at and see if it's still a really good deal to buy. Now, we're going to go to Guitar Center here in a second. We're going to watch what's going on. Sorry. And very important, if you're anywhere else in the world, I mean, most of these brands are available everywhere. Prices are going to vary. The only brand that you're not going to see outside of Guitar Center or the United States is going to be Harbinger. So I'm going to say that. I'm also going to give you my only brand that I have a negative opinion towards, okay? You know, stereotype like, ooh, and that is Behringer and their partner company, TurboSound. Nothing wrong with TurboSound except for the fact that they're owned by Behringer. And I'll tell you why. They're very, very complicated to deal with when it came to margin when I actually had a store. They're very hard on their retailers, and to the point that they've gone to only super retailers. So yes, by all means, if you'd like to buy one, buy one. They're fine if it fits your flavor and you like the taste of that particular speaker, but it's not something I'm going to promote unless they come to me and explain to me why I should be talking about their speakers in a positive light. That's my opinion. It's not. I'm a reviewer. I'm somebody who talks about products and gives my opinion on it. So that's what I'm telling you now. Is it on the list? Yes, it is. The first 3 happen to be 2 TurboSound and Behringer. Then we've got JBL, we've got Electro-Voice, we've got another Electro-Voice, we've got Avante, we've got Yamaha, we've got, of course, the Alto, which is what we're going to be talking about. We got the Mackie, we got the Harbingers. The list goes on and on and on. There's other names there that I didn't write down, like Kustom. So why don't we take a look-see at what we got list-wise and really decide why these speakers are still so popular. And we'll talk about it as we go. So it's going to be about a half-hour show. We're going to wrap this up today at around 4 o'clock. So if you got questions or comments, please drop them down below. Very, very important. So let's hit it up here, see what's going on. So we're going to do that. We're going to do this. Swap out our screens and take a look, see what's going on. We're also going to talk about what we have here, but to be honest, it's a nice box and it does a lot of great things, but nothing we can't cover while we're actually looking at them individually online here. So here we go. First and foremost, not to make a plug for anything in particular, use the link down below if you'd like to go to Guitar Center and see what's available. And by all means, that link is supporting this channel, so I really appreciate it if you do. And because you're coming into a holiday right now in the States, good for you guys, by the way, there's a big sale on. And of course, because Guitar Center owns Harbinger, they don't have to ask permission for it. So let's take a look-see at what we got. By the way, the sale is a Labor Day sale for anybody who's curious. And of course, you're watching this later on. If it ain't Labor Day, this sale ain't on. So here we go. The first ones we're going to have is the Alto right here. That's what we're going to use as a bench reference. I do have the tab at the end open with all the other models. So we're not just going to cover the 410, but we're going to cover all the other models. But we're going to use the 10-inch as a point of reference, okay? So when it comes to sound quality, reliability, dependability, everything you're looking for in an actual power speaker, the Alto is going to give you a really good end result product. Yes, it's one of the best sounding speakers out there. It qualifies with everybody else for quality of sound. But remember, the biggest factor that you're playing against here, the reason why it's so reasonably priced, is because it doesn't pack the big giant energy system that's required to run 3 times more power than it does currently. So this speaker is going to be comfortable as a stage monitor. If you have a electric drum set and you want to run this for your monitor behind you, if you're running it in a small bar or restaurant, if you're using it at a Starbucks, if you're using it for any smaller size venue or monitors or side fill speakers. Side fill speakers has got to be probably one of the biggest things people are using this for. You have a pair of 15s, but you got at a wedding people sitting off to the side, the left and right, and you're looking for speakers that you can angle on a on a 45 or a 65-degree angle just outside of what your main speakers can do. These guys do an amazing job at doing that. So it fills the room without having big giant boxes there as along with you. And again, like I said, I think they're great for monitors, garage bands, all sort of things. The quality of sound is absolutely superb, and the app is perfect to run. So I'm not going to diss the speaker in any way, shape, or form. For $350, it is a bargain. So let's take a look, see what it's got to go against. Now here, the first one we're going to look at here is the Harbinger. That's our next on our tab. This is the V2410. Now the 2410 is trimmed back version. It's not as loud, maybe by about 10 dBs less. I don't care about the wattage on these things, by the way. I'm going to tell you roughly where I think you can sit dB wise and how much energy overall it has. Now, of course, this is a whole $100 cheaper right now because of the sale. Normally it's $300, which is $50 cheaper. So when you're spending $100 less, you're not going to get all the features. Of course, you don't get an app with it. You do get good multiple inputs, maybe the same, maybe more than what you would see on the back of the Alto. But again, that's Harbinger. It's an exception to the rule. QSC. Now here's a perfect example. This speaker literally costs almost 3 times the price, 2.5 times at the least, right? Because yeah, it's expensive. It's a great speaker if you want to have a small box that's going to do a high performance job for you. It's going to get you dBs, but remember, without the driver's size, carrying that sound the distance is going to be your bigger enemy. I mean, sometimes you're willing to go to a 12 or 15 inch for a couple of $100 less than getting a 10 inch. But again, if you're looking for high performance, because you're playing at a super loud venue and you're playing rock music or dance or anything like that, you can get up into here. And again, this is like buying a forklift. It is a solid piece of hardware. It is not going to break down, and you can use it all day and all night at its limit. So again, that limit on this speaker here, you're probably going to get yourself around 90 to 100 dBs, but you're not going to be 50 feet away from the speaker unless you have a ton of them and they're laid out properly. So most likely you're buying these because you want to have a great set of monitors. You want to have something for smaller venues. You want to have probably one of the most reliable outside of buying the Yamaha and JBL when it comes to dependability. There's like 3 or 4 brands that are really the most recognized, reliable ones out there. There's a lot of them that are really good and very trustworthy, but the cream of the crop is going to be like things like the QSC and the next one, which is going to be, so again, we're at $899. The Yamaha. The Yamaha combines probably some of the best, most refined sound in the speaker. Power is amazing, but the price point is definitely there. If you're buying this because you play classical music, you're playing this because you play jazz, you're playing this because the quality of sound that is going to come out of that speaker, you want it to be perfect. Perfect. It is one of the main reasons why you would go out and buy Yamaha. Of course, all the secondary reasons is reliability, dependability, overall use, the volume, the overall dB capabilities of the speaker. So those are all the secondary reasons you're going to buy it. But I mean, the primary reason is you're looking for you're looking, let's say, studio quality sound out of an actual PA speaker. That's Yamaha. Here we go. Now we're looking at a Behringer Euro, the B110 at $239. Okay, next speaker. TurboSound. Now, they've gone a long way with this speaker here. They have a super high expectation. It's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive, but it's, you know, I mean, if you're building a mid-range high-end system and you're going with TurboSound, it's going to sound really good. But it's like buying a Cadillac. And the best thing about a Cadillac is that it's pretty funky and pretty cool when you buy it. But as you have it 3 years later, it turns into a Chevy because all those great extra features may break down. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen with this speaker here. I haven't had the pleasure outside of hearing them, and I think they sounded really nice, and you can do an awful lot of things with them. But again, that's $699. If you're a DJ, that's not a bad way to go because you're probably not going to want to mess around a whole ton with it, but it does have a lot of features, and it is designed to incorporate with a lot of their other equipment. So again, if you're a fan of TurboSound, this is what you're a fan of. Not something that's the name, but in a lower grade. This is definitely one of their nicer pieces that they make. So definitely, if you're looking for power performance on a DJ system and you have a preference on the brand, definitely do that. Again, this is the TurboSound, but the step-down version. This is more like the Behringer, very plain Jane. You're buying into the name because you like the name. But you're not worried about top-end volume or performance. Again, in its price range, I'm going to say buy the Alto or buy the Harbinger, especially if you're going to Guitar Center. I would definitely be looking at that and then put that money somewhere else. Oh, wait, it's a repeat. Ooh, it's a repeat. We don't want to say repeat. Yorkville. Now I'm in Canada, and Yorkville up here is like, you know, going out and buying water. It's the brand that our big chain retailer, Long McQuaid owns, and so this is their brand in-house. But you can buy it everywhere else. So, you know, kudos if you're looking for a made in North America. I say North America because it's actually made in Canada speaker. There you go. Pretty impressive piece of hardware, but at the same time, it's got a price tag to it. So if you're looking for something that's killer volume and you're going to be running it hard, using it for rentals especially, their stuff is so rugged. So if you're in a rental business, you know, I can't think of a tougher speaker to get than a Yorkville. That's their selling feature, and I'm going to stick to it. It's really good. If you don't mind if it gets dinged up a bit, because it's vinyl liner, you just kind of like paint it up again and you fix it all up for yourself. So if you're looking for a tough, rough speaker with a lot of power and performance and pretty good for a rental, I might look at one of these guys. Electro-Voice. Now here you go, ETX10P. If you're looking for power, performance, quality, I mean, there's lots of good ones and there's a few great ones. This one's going to be in the category of great ones. This is up there with the Yamaha. Very smart when it comes to design, engineering. But again, $1,500 for a speaker. So if I'm not saying that, then there's something wrong, right? So if, again, you're looking for the best, most refined sound you're going to get out of a speaker being used as a main or a monitor. Now remember, you got to keep it into proportion. It's a 10-inch speaker. But again, if you're looking for that quality, this is going to be it. So remember, size matters. I mean, you can't just say, I don't want to carry around a 15-inch speaker anymore, or a 12-inch, so I'm going to buy a 10. That's not how it works. You may want to take your money and put it into a column or line array. JBL, everybody talks about a JBL. This happens to be the Eon 710. The value when they're on sale, which is what they are right now. And remember, this isn't always. This happens to be a Labor Day sale this year, and this happens to be $50 off. So great value, even at $500. If you're buying speakers for your school, for the gymnasium, for the auditorium, if these are going to be used in a church. Now, this is why I say that. JBL to me has always been very good at being very forgiving. So are they always the loudest speaker for the price? No. But are they always the most trustworthy and dependable speaker for the price? Probably, because they're so forgiving. They have a great sound when they come off the box, very unique to their own. It's JBL. I mean, it's going to be exactly what you expect to be, and it's going to be very, very nice at doing that. This happens to be the Eon 710, so this is where it starts for their products. So again, if you're looking for something to use where people that may be interacting or setting it up aren't going to be professionals, if you're looking for a rental type speaker, maybe this is a good way to go. So I'm a big fan of JBL. I don't think they do things wrong. And when their speakers are on sale, they're right where you want them to be. So that's pretty good. And they're always very nice to their retailers. Their partners are, they take care of everybody. So that makes them really, you know, A-OK in my book. Here we go. PreSonus, you know, active loudspeaker. Now, they don't give any other pictures, but we're talking $1,000 for a 10-inch speaker, so I did put it in the list. Now, I always think of PreSonus as monitors. So I went, well, you know what? What is PreSonus up to these days with this? Because what's the idea? Active loudspeaker combination, I mean, why? I mean, it sounds like a regular speaker when it comes to a powered speaker, but there's really no shtick on it. There's no actual talking about what's going on here. There's only one speaker. Sorry, there's only one picture. And not a lot else to talk about. So, okay, there's a PreSonus. Here's Kustom. Now, Kustom is, you know, the Kustom is like that underdog, that brand that's just always kicking around trying to get that job done. And they're always great value. And you know what? People that have them really like them. I mean, there's like, if you go out and take a listen to it and it really fits into what you're looking for, by all means, I don't see a problem. This has got a great, better way. So if you're using it as a wedge, by all means, not bad setup. And like I said, people that have it like to brag about it. Like, oh man, I got this Kustom, and take a listen to it. And I mean, they sound really good, and they're only $250, and they're not a very complicated speaker. So if you don't need a complicated speaker, this might be what you're looking for. Now, reliability to longevity, I'm sorry, outside of having them play for me so I can hear what they sound like, I was going to buy into them, but then, you know, COVID happened and I basically had to do a change of plans after that. So I didn't get a chance to get into that. So, but again, this is exclusive. This happens to be the KPX10A. And notice right up here, it says exclusive to Guitar Center. So very unique, very cool looking speaker. And everybody seems to like it. It's got 20 reviews, 4.5 stars. So I mean, hey, it's not just me. Mackie, the brand I hate to love sometimes. I mean, their higher end products are really good, and I'm going to say what my opinion is. I think reliability and dependability is fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And for a company that makes some of the most signature rated speakers that I think of when I think of the original powered 12-inch and 15-inch speakers, I think about Mackie's back in the day. Their 650 line, heavy duty, hard as rock, beat the pulp out of them, perfect for rentals. People would have them for like 10, 15 years, hanging in their gymnasiums, and bands would use them, and they'd be in churches, and then they get hand-me-downs, and I mean, they just kept on going and going and going. Now, this is the Thump, and it doesn't sound the same in my book as the other speakers. And though you can get some pretty good bass out of it, the name makes it sound like it's something different. It's not. It's a very good speaker, different from their other lines of speakers they make when it comes to acoustic of the sound. But for that price, you've got other options. Don't be fooled. Look at the dBs. This, the Alto, and you know, you're going to see this is not 1400 watts. It's 1400 watts peak. I'm going to say it's probably maybe a 350 speaker at best. Realistically, maybe 250 watts at tops. But, you know, they somehow come up with this. And I'm not, you know what, I'm not the watts police. I always say that. I run the same problem with Alto and Electro-Voice and the ZLX series. There's so many of them. Anything under $500 really gets into this peak rating thing. So is it a good speaker? If you're a DJ, if you're buying it for your own personal use and consumption, for your garage, for your workshop, a lot of people who have jobs that are like, you know, as in welding or any type of, you know, fabrication where you're building stuff. So you work hard and you're welding and stuff like that, and you want to have music playing in the background. A lot of people buy this. I have a lot of gyms having this. Excuse me. And so Mackie's always been really, really good for that. So I'm not going to take away from them. I sold a lot of them, but the Altos were more popular. And this brings us right back to where we started with all the Altos. So let's switch over for a second, and then we'll talk about Alto as a total, and then we'll come back and look at the line. Here we go. So there we go. I mean, that's a rundown of speaker. You can see how price point is the biggest thing. I mean, that is your biggest worry when it comes to speakers, is how much your investment is going to be. Now, of course, if you buy a $1,500 speaker, you're going to absolutely love that $1,500 speaker. My concern is that speaker alone, is it 3 times more than what you need, meaning power, performance, reliability? Can you buy something that has less power and sounds just as good at those volume levels you want to operate at and still be as reliable? That's where Alto fits in. So I'm never going to tell you that the Alto is going to replace the Yamaha or it's going to replace the ELX or anything like that. I'm never going to say that. I'm going to say, if you're using it as a monitor, if you're using it at home, if you're using it in a small setup, if you're using it at church, depending on how you're using it, it for sure is going to be able to be the main speaker that you use that for. If you're entertaining 50 to 150 people at a wedding, a couple of big Altos with their subwoofers is going to do the job. I think a lot of people will be happier. You can buy a Yamaha, or you can buy an Alto TS410 plus a subwoofer to go underneath it for the same price. I mean, do I have to tell you which one, for 100 to 150 people, which one do you think is going to sound better when you're having a dance party? Absolutely, you're going to want to have those subs. So why not have 2 tops that are going to generate 90 dBs, which is going to be all you're ever going to really want at a wedding, which is why people get away with the column arrays and the line arrays to do a lot of these. And you're going to have the subwoofer because everybody wants the subwoofer. They all want the bass drop. So that's very important there. So that's why when I tell people Yamaha is better, but you may like to go with the combination of having that Alto on top and the subwoofer underneath it. That's my opinion. Now, of course, if you're going to be the person who does the 500 guest weddings, now you're in the whole new thing. Yes, you are the one that is going to spend $1,500 to $2,000 on a speaker, and you're going to need 2 of them, or you're going to buy some very impressive Evolve 90s, because that's the job, that's the level of work you're at. But you have to decide where you're buying it for and who you're buying it for and how you plan on using it. That's always the hard thing. That's why there's so many choices. So again, I give you a bit of a rundown here on all the differences. Like I said, I'm not just saying this to say this. It's kind of my job for a long time to make these decisions. My business was, I always stocked the things everybody wanted to start with or wanted to add on, and everything that was above that, I was able to just order and get for customers as they wished, right? So I want this, I want that, I need more of this, I need more of that. So it's like, yes, you're looking at the ZLX, but we're going to order you the ELX instead. You can do that. It's not a big deal. So do I recommend them still? Yes, I do. I really do. I haven't found a speaker yet that does everything they do. Now, if you get into bigger sizes, you can start like picking, saying, oh, you know what, the Harbinger, if you're in the US, is its true competition, because you are going to get more power in the Harbinger, in the 4400 series, than you do in the Alto. But that may change. Alto may decide to come up with a new product line. They did have more powerful speakers in the past, but they realized that focusing on this gave them two advantages. One, it really gave them a position in the market, and it really gave them volume in the ability to manufacture in such large scale that allowed them to be very, very aggressive price-wise. So remember, Alto, if you haven't realized, they're owned by InMusic. InMusic owns Numark. InMusic owns Denon. So they own some pretty impressive brands, and Alto's just one of them. So there we go. The biggest thing is Alto long-term with their mixers. Now their subwoofers go perfect. They go perfect with their subwoofers, and people always ask me, should I get a 12, an 18, a 15? Because they have 15s, which is real popular. And if you're looking for a three-way, if you're in a band and you're getting two subs, you might want to get the two 15s. If you're a DJ, I'd recommend pushing and rolling around two 18s. That would be my recommendation. They're only $100 difference. That's great value. If you're going to buy 12s or 10s or 8s, then you get your choice of getting yourself into the 12-inch sub. That's very big. But still, preference-wise, I would probably still like to see if you get the 12-inch tops to get the 15-inch sub. And if you're getting the 8s or the 10s, then you're definitely probably looking at that 12-inch to 15-inch sub, depending if you want that extra kick. If you're playing smaller venues and you want the bass, the 15s are going to do the job better in that space than getting the 18s. The 18s are really good if you're doing a hall. So, you know, you're doing a wedding, that sort of thing. A couple of 18s are much better suited for that. If you're going to do a bar or a restaurant, the 15s work better in those spaces. There you go. My opinion. My opinion, that's it. That's all. So there we go. What do we got today? 4 questions. Now I'm looking over at, I moved the screen, by the way. It's not here anymore. It's over there. It makes my life a little bit better. Oh, James back. Hey, James. There you go. Oh, what's up, bro? Oh, doing this. Trying to do this twice a day now. And never heard used. My problem is the screen is 4 feet away, and I didn't think of that. Let me get my glasses now. Or I'm going to have to pull this up on a different screen. That's what I'm going to do. Let's get my own Q&As right up here on the screen here, because I can't read that screen over there. It's good for setup, though. So let's go here. Yes, this is just going to take me a second just to pull up the screen. And let's go to the home page. And we're going to have to mute this for a second because I don't need that anymore here. What? Yeah. And that's better. That's better. So I think therefore I am. Here we are. Right. Never heard or used an Alto speaker. But black and blue is my favorite color. If you've never used an Alto speaker, go down to the store and have a listen to it. It's definitely a very, very popular brand when it comes to that. It all depends on the size of the gigs you're doing. So I mean, just like I said before, if you bought speakers, let's say 7 years ago, you probably bought something else, and then you kind of went down that rabbit hole that made you feel comfortable. These are not new. These are very, as a brand, very old brand. That's what InMusic does, by the way. They actually originally buy vintage brands that are a little hard on their luck at the time, and they get them for a really good price because technology and engineering, everything's pushing forward so fast that if you look, they own Akai, they own, of course, Alto. They've bought in, well, of course, they bought Denon because Denon wanted to separate from their professional line. Then they got Numark, and then they got, who else? They have so many brands. Alesis, and these brands were all down in their luck at the time, and they bought them up. bought them up for their tech and their basically their brand power, and move forward on that. So like I said, it's pretty much for all their brands they did that. And hey, there we go, Rick. Yeah. So we got Rick here. Rick, what's a solid mid-range mixer that offers good sound and basic effects, but stays affordable? Now, I know Rick asked this question on another email, and he was basically talking about the Alto that I was talking about. Now, I am a big fan of Mackie mixers. They've never been a problem for me. For as much as I'm like on the boat when it comes to their speakers, except for their higher end models, their mixers are pretty good, except they're getting a little cheap on the bells and whistles. The quality is still the same, the features are still the same, but they're getting a little cheap when it comes to adding, let's say, an auxiliary. Like I use the 10 in front of me here, the 10V3, and I should have kept myself 12V3, because the 12 has sliders on it, which I'm a bit of a fan of, and the 12 also has auxiliary options on it, so that's really nice. So Rick, if you want to message me if you're still there about how much you want to spend on a mixer, I can certainly look at that for you. So that's a big difference. And we got James back here. The wedding, waiting back. Oh, sorry. Yes, we should work on a collab. And I'm going, if you didn't send me the email, I'll send you the email. And sorry, I don't look at everything all the time. I've got somebody else who does a lot of the stuff for me on the back end. That's my wife, who's not here. She's upstairs doing her thing. So I'll take a look at that and we'll work on that. And yeah, because there's lots of stuff to talk about there as well. So there you go. What time do we have? We got 4:02. Now, we're going to be calling it 4:02. Why are we calling it 4:02? We can say all kinds of stuff, but I got to be honest. Today, life got in the way again, and I really wanted to make this happen today, so we did. But I've got another appointment with a doctor. Nothing, just a regular physical thing. Just it is what it is. So I'm going to say thank you for watching. I'm going to try and have an evening show today. If not, then we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll talk then. Like I say, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, comment, blah, blah, blah. And Guitar Center. If you're looking for a place to buy your gear, by all means, they always have sales. And use the link. That helps. Thanks again. See you next time. And now I got to find where I left the end button here for my video today. Okay. It's under one of these screens. And yeah, so it's still hiding here. You know, I have to, whatever I do wrong, I have to wait 24 hours so I can end it, so I can edit the stream. So again, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Bye for now.